Hi everybody, we're going to start a new share. We're doing this, I'm making a video for WhatsApp, and we're starting doing this on TikTok at the same time. So welcome everybody. Right now we are on the talking about how 770 is the third holy temple is found in 770. And we're discussing how that works and why that is. We discussed that since the times of the base of Mikdash, there was always one place that was the central place for teaching to the Jewish people. And this central place was always one place in the world that was in the exile. And the Rebbe goes to explain the different levels and explains this is 770 now. This is all the class we learned, class 1 and 2. And he's going to go on. He says that the third Beit HaMikdash is that the third holy is found in 770. In other words, 770 is what's it mean? The concept, the real concept of the holy temple is where the Shekhinah, where the divine presence dwell. So it dwells more in the one central place, the place that's chosen by God in the exile, which is considered in place of the holy temple, that it shines there more than any place else. Even though every time you get together and you talk Torah, if you have a minyan, it's a higher level, there's more revelation of the divine presence. And in your synagogue, and there are a lot of people, or you're with a tzaddik, there's more revelations of divine essence. But he says then that this place in the world, which is we given to us, and we're in the exile, given us in place of the holy temple, where what happens there is that the teachings of how to serve Hashem comes out from there, and also they're davening there, and the leader of the generation, who's the Moshiach, is there also. So he says this place has more revelation of the Shekhinah than any other place. So this is 770. So now the Kuntres we're learning from this book, great book. You can get it. It's a bilingual translation. It's from the original. It's either Hebrew or Yiddish, and then we have the English translation, which is what I read out of mostly. And it's a great sefer, and it's big. It's soft cover, says that's the only drawback. But it's much the biggest printer. I mean, for me, it's much easier. And it's good quality, and you'll learn by this. You'll be able to learn and go over all these classes, because these classes are very important. Because the classes that we're learning now, these are the classes that teach us how to live redemption. What's it mean, live redemption? Teach us how to be happy. Because when redemption means you're redeemed from all the problems and the tsuris, and you're only with Hashem and the goodness. So by learning this, you redeem yourself. I've taught it to people. One person actually, he had 16 kids. It's about my age when I went. And it was like 10, 12 years ago. He had like 8 kids at home. The other ones were married, and they had no money. And he had problems. They couldn't hang out the laundry. Very expensive electricity. They had 9 kids at home. His wife had a stroke. Their son-in-law died in Mumbai. And it was a wonderful person. It was the only English speaker in the kollel that I was learning at in Ramat Aviv, and we learned this stuff. We had an English translation, really mostly in Shemos, a couple hours a day. And I was going through a very difficult time over there, very, very difficult time. I'm not going to go into details. And so I kept on writing in, like we have, as I say. There's the app Rebbe 770, REBBE 770, that you can download, and you can either write just for a blessing where it goes with the Rebbe praise in 770, which now we're learning how special 770 is, especially even more so with the Rebbe praise. There's more revelation of the Shekhinah in that area. Like I said, you had the last class about what happened with me when I was davening, praying. In the afternoon, and we got closer to where the Rebbe prayed, and I felt the energy. So, so by learning this, you learn to open up your mind, and you understand, and you see why things are so special, and you learn to live gula. So this is what happened with my friend. So he was learning with me for several months. Later, I didn't know. Later, he told me his wife said she has a husband because of me, because he was depressed. He was in bed. Then he was. I mean, I remember I went there. He lives in Bnei Brak, so there were some people who left there. So I went there for, I think it was Shulas, and I stayed at a different place because they didn't have a place for me there. So I remember I'm sitting on the bench. It was nighttime, and without my glasses, I just kind of see the aura. I don't necessarily, necessarily get closer. So everybody's walking down the street, and it's Shabbat, but they were like, this type of vibe, very serious, and then so everybody's walking down the street. Then I see this person, and I see all this energy, with movement. This is my friend, very, very, very special, very special guy. And anyways, so from learning this, it healed him. I taught him this, it healed him, and he was a happy person after that. Even though he had the same problems, they didn't have any money, this and that, but it was the same. So learning this, the last year the Rebbe spoke especially, is the most enlivening, and it tells you how special you are. So now we're learning there's a place in the world that have people go throughout the world that that the Holy Temple, the third Holy Temple, is found there. It's such a high place, and this is from there we're going to go, all the Jews together, to the Holy Land, in the Holy Redemption, and all the people of the world are going to come to the Holy Temple. Okay, so we're in number Zion. This is the name of this. It says, and I shall be there for them in a miniature sanctuary. This is the house of our Rebbe in Bavel, regarding the central synagogue and study hall of Lubavitch in Lubavitch 770. So that's the name of this. This was the Rebbe put together. This is a Kuntres. This is a pamphlet the Rebbe put together. Mostly other classes of what the Rebbe spoke. It could be 2-3 days during the week, and then they go over that. But this has a few different lessons in it. Okay, so number 9. So now we're going to even go on and understand. It says, and we may add that this is alluded to also in the name of the house of our Rebbe in our generation. So it's called Beis Rabeinu, the house of our Rebbe. So what's it mean? Rabeinu, his two names alluded to the redemption is first. The Rebbe says called Rabbeinu. He's always holding by the Frierdiker Rebbe. His father-in-law was the Rebbe before him. The Frierdiker Rebbe is alive by the Rebbe. I mean, he's always referring to him. So he says, so what's Rabbeinu? So we're going to learn something new about the specialness of 770. He says, one, that the name of Rabbeinu was Yosef Yitzchak. The first name was Yosef, and this correlates to the verse. It says, and it should be on that day, Hashem Yosef will once again stretch forth his arm to acquire the remnants of his people that will remain from Assyria and from Egypt and from the islands of the sea, and Asaph. And he says, it will gather the lost tribes, the lost of the Israelites, and dispersed of Yehuda. Now all the Jews he's going to bring back, and he will gather them from the four corners of the earth. This is what we see now today, the Jews from every place. Accidentally, it's a longer story, but I was talking to a person, Baruch Hecht, who was, he works at the intake in the Baal Tshuva Yeshiva, called Morristown. And he's telling me the amazing stories from the Baal Tshuvas. But he says 1 month he gets a phone call from a guy from China. A month later he shows up on his doorstep. I mean, it's bringing the Jews all back. That's what it is. Asaph, the lost Israel dispersed, he will gather them from the four corners of the world. And his second name, now this is the name of 770, Beis Rabeinu is Yitzchak. The name is in correlation to laughter. Yitzchak means laughter and joy, which is complete and true, which is complete in the true and complete redemption through Moshiach. That time everybody's going to be true joy. As the verse says, then our mouths will be filled with scope, with laughter. Then, specifically, in the time to come, when we will say to Yitzchak specifically, for you are our father. So it's a very, very, so the Rebbe is saying that Rabbeinu goes on Mashiach. First, it has the level of Yosef, which means Hashem will again redeem us. And then the second name is Yitzchak, which means joy and happiness, which is the time of the Gula, time of the redemption. There's going to be only joy and happiness. Everything's just going to see godliness and wonderful stuff. Okay. And that's, it says, Beis Rabeinu, the house of our Rebbe. Now we have the house. What's the house? It's addressed, the address of the house of the Rebbe is 770, like Rebbe 770. And this number became the name of the house of our Rebbe. It's called by all the Jewish people 770. When you go throughout the world, said, did you go to 770? I was in 770. That's what we call it. 770. I was in 770. I was 4 months in 770. Which this number is the numerical value of parasta, which means to spread out. In correlation, it says ufaratsta, and you should burst forward to the east and to the west and to the east and the north and to the south. Ufaratsta, ufaras, yama b'kedma, sabloina v'negma. So this is talking about the number 770. It's the same numerical value, which alludes to the fact that this house lights and shines forth to all four directions of the world in a matter of breaking the boundaries. That the amazing thing that all the four directions of the world raise up to the level of Eretz Yisrael. That they all come. The Eretz Yisrael is where everything's revealed holiness. Eretz Yisrael is destined to spread through the whole lands. Everybody, and especially and including all that, and especially and including that all the synagogues and all the study halls throughout the world are relocated to Eretz Yisrael and connected to the holy temple, the base of Mikdash, into true and complete redemption through Moshiach, about whom it said, Paratzta Alecha, Paratzta, it says by Peretz, it said he broke through, empowered you to spring forth. And our sages say this refers to Moshiach, as the verse says, that Peretz, one who breaches, rose up from before them. So it's talking about the Indian Ufaratz, that's the Prince Word that has to do with Moshiach. So first of all, we just said that the name of the Frierdiker Rebbe, who's the Rebbe says that the leader of our generation has to do with Moshiach, both names. And then we said also the number has to do with the spreading of Hasidus. And we make him, so the Rebbe, as I say, the Rebbe, what he does is he looks what's doing right there at that time, and he looks through the whole world, and he looks at, and he starts seeing the goodness. It's like, you're supposed to look for the brachas. So the Rebbe looks, what are my brachas? What are the positive energy? What are the wonderful things? And then when you get into it, then you get happy. When you start seeing this is good and that good, and this is good, that's good. And we may connect both of these, the illusion and the content of the number 770, what tells us, in the house of our Rebbeinu, with the first name of the Rebbeinu, also hinted and alluded to, and it says, Hashem will Yosef again his hand. What's this mean? So both of these inyanim we should put together, these matters put together, the number 770 of Beis Rabeinu, and the name also it says is Yosef, that Hashem will again redeem us. So Mispar 770 more Alish name was the Mispar Shefa. So the number 770 it shows alludes it shows us about the completeness of the number of 7. That 7. It says 7 as one is included in 10. Hold on. Sheba kafi shekol echad kola me'eser spheros shivim. So what's it mean? You have the 7, and each one of these levels 7, there of the attributes, that all of these things are included, have all the 10 characteristics of Chachma, Bina, V'das, all of them. So you have 7 with all the different levels. That means you have 70, and even more than this. He says that each one of them also is included with 100, which is 10 times 10. So 10 means that's a completeness. Like we have Eser Kokos and Nefesh. There are 10 spheres the world's created. We have 10 powers: wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, kindness, severity, all these different things that we have. So the Sh'Beva represents 6 attributes, from kindness down to how we had. But each one of these attributes is complete in all its sight. Each one has 10 attributes in them. So Sh'Beva Me'os, until it reaches the level we put them together. So here we have Sh'Beva, 7, 70, because every attribute is totally complete. And then we have 100, which is even a higher level, and we put them together. So Inyan possess. What's it we're talking about here? Mitzvah, Sheva, Kasha, and Mitzias Olam. So the Rebbe is going to explain that the number 7 has to do with the existence of the world that was created in 7 days. So 7 days of building, 7 attributes, 7 Sheva Midas. And also is connected to the refining of the world through the service of the Jewish people that are divided into 7 types. So we have different types of Jews do different things. 7 levels of godly service of the Jewish people. The 7 attributes, the 7 branches of the menorah. And based on this, the perfection of the number 7, 770, denotes the completeness of the service of the Jewish people in refining the world through our deeds and the service throughout the time of the exile, which then we will be redeemed from the exile and return to Eretz Israel. So the Rebbe is saying that 7 has to do with how the world's created, how you work in the world, and when you totally refine these, when you totally do everything that Hashem wants you to do, it's a level of 770, time to a highest level. That the world was created in the level of 7. Okay. And in the wording of the verse in which is alluded to with the connection of the first name of Rabbeinu to the redemption, it says on that day V'lesh and a costume Shabo Nirmaz Kesher Shagos Shabo Rishon Shem Rabbeinu L'Gula V'Yomu Yosef Shem Ad Hashem Chinese look knows as Shar Amo Basher Yishab Me'ashim Mitzrayim Avrasos and Mekush Balim Mishnir Mach Maskula Shagul Sem Shal Kalvin Israel Mishivas Aratzos Musa B'Kasav Ma'ai Hayam Kai Al Chatzi Kador Hatachton Eshra Maliyas Atachton V'Yoseh. Hashem believes that Mez'ala B'Meila Shar Aratzos Shalamayna Mimeno Kol Shivas Aratzos Kolos Olam. So I'm saying that outside, then I'll go back inside in English. The Rebbe says that it talks about here that Hashem is going to redeem us, and it says, how is He going to redeem us? It says that different lands at different places. And all of these represents the different lands. Until we get the islands, we're going to say about that represents America, because it was never, I guess, redeemed in the first. The Torah was never given there. Okay, and the wording and in the wording of the verse in which it is alluded to the connection of the first name of Rabbeinu to the redemption, that day Hashem Yosef will add once again stretch forth his arm to acquire the remnants of his nation that will remain from Assyria and from Egypt and from Parus and from Ethiopia and from Shinar and Kamas. And all of these are lands that were in Israel, in that part of the world, that perhaps where the Torah was revealed, and the redemption of all the Jewish people from the 7 lands. And the verse adds, and from the islands of the ocean, what's that? Which refers to the lower hemisphere. This is an amazing thing. I mean, the Rebbe sees, the Rebbe looks and tells us what's flying in the world. He says, we're all going to be taken out. And the verse refers to the America, the Lord that says, which refers to the lower hemisphere, which, through cleaving the lowest and automatically in all the lands that are higher than it, which to elevating this lowest level, which refers to the lowest hemisphere, which through elevating the lowest, automatically all the lands that are higher than it, all the 7 lands, and the world in general are elevated. And we may say, the Rebbe says, so b'shleimus b'sheva me'os v'shevachayim nirmez garma ashleimus u'v'os Rabbeinu b'mesher kol yom ha'kayim. Okay, so we may say that the completeness of the number of 7 770. Hence, also to the completeness of the service of the Rebbeinu, the Frierdiker Rebbe, through the days of his life. He had 7 tens. He had through his life 7 tens. And I broke them up. 7 of years. So he had 70 years. 70 years, okay, from 56, 40 to 57, 10, including the completeness and the perfection of his service in the 7th, 10th, 10 years. So the last, from 60 to 70, the last time, in the lower hemisphere in America, from the house which the address 770 is, that from that time, the last 10 years, the Frierdiker Rebbe was in 770, is included also in the continuation of the service in the years after this to the 7th generation. Those are amazing things, I have to say. The Rebbe says that the perfect and wonderful, there's plenty of godliness. The Frierdiker Rebbe came here and started to turn the world over, and his last 10 years he spent in 770, which is the base Moshiach. And then he says, and even after that, he says that after him, which is talking about the Rebbe and for us, that we're going to continue to do more and more and more and more good work. And he says why. He says brings down a level of 7 again, including also the continuation of the service in the years after through this, years after, including also the continuation of the service in the years after, this through the 7th generation. It says all 7th are cherished, which through the completeness of our deeds and service through the time of the exile in all the 7 lands of the world, immediately Hashem will once again, because he's done everything, once again Yosef stretched forth his arm and Asaph and gathered the lost tribes of it, the lost Israelites, through the phenomena that it says paratzta. It will happen through this phenomenon, the miracle value of 770. Alecha Peres, that it will burst forward and take us home. The godliness will burst forward, and everything bad will just disappear. And empower you to spring forth. The Peres rose up from before them. So this, Mom says, this is a very amazing thing. Excuse me. Okay, so where are we? So now we're on number 8. So the Rebbe says, regarding to all above, there's a special emphasis is added in recent times. The service of spreading of Judaism that well springs outward from Beis Rabeinu 770 continues to get stronger and stronger even after the last 10 years in his life. And we're talking about the previous Lubavitch Rebbe in this world for more than 40 years. And Rebbe talked about this, it was like 1990. He was talking 1991. That in the matter that Hashem gave you a heart to understand and eyes to see and ears to hear. Hence, so in other words, that now, 40 years after the Frierdiker Rebbe passed away, there's even more revelation of 770, how special it is. And it says that after 40 years, a person starts to understand. I know I had Yechidus years ago, and it wasn't until 40 years later I'm still understanding deeper and deeper thoughts. I had private audiences with Lubavitch Rebbe, amazing stuff. So it says it takes 40 years to really digest it. Like the Jews were in the desert, 40 years. So it's amazing stuff. So he says, so now that we're 40 years after this revelation of how the previous Lubavitch Rebbe was in 770 and lived there for 10 years. So now there's even more and more going out until it says that the eyes and ears to see, hence it says Beis Rabeinu is a tapios, a tel mound that all peos turn to. Tapios is a word in Hebrew, but they learn out from it that it's like the base of Mikdash, that everybody was looking towards, their prayers would be for the base of the Holy Temple. We daven towards the Holy Temple. So it says here that in the Beis Rabeinu that the tal, the mound, that all the mouths turn to it for more than a jubilee of years, from 5700 to 5770 forever. And so he says that also that the Jews have all been coming to 770 and realizing this is a special place to pray to Hashem, especially where the leader of the generation is. And this has happened to more than for 50 years when the Rebbe was speaking. Remember, this talk was 1991. So he's speaking about it. So the concept in Judaism is that when when you have 50 years, it's considered forever, an olam. That there's a law we see that when a person becomes a slave, that generally a slave goes out 7 years. Talking a Jewish slave, he sells himself. But then he goes out within that 7 years or when there's the Shemitah year. But if he decides that he doesn't want to leave his master, he wants to stay, he enjoys being there, it's easy for him, I don't know. So he does. So they said that they have to make an ear, make a pierce on his earring, and he stays there forever. But forever, they say, it's until the 50th year. Not that the 50-year cycle. The 50 year could come in a year or it could be 45 years, depending on the cycle. So that's a level called forever. So he's saying Jubilee represents forever. Okay, and thus is emphasized even more upon the seeing before your eyes, the continuous addition in the number of the Jewish people that come to the house of a Rebbe. A vast nation glorifies kings. I mean, you go to 770, and you gets a chance. You just sit there and see people coming in. When there's like a special holiday, the place is full with thousands of people, so it's even hard to move. But there's always like 1,000 people learning and davening. It's the head yeshivas over there. Amazing place. And people come from all over the world. For a lot of people, they have a bar mitzvah. They bring their kids from Israel. All different. They're a very holy place. So here it says, okay. So it says that as is emphasized even more upon seeing before your eyes the continuous addition in numbers of the Jewish people that come to the house of a Rebbe, the vast nation glorifies the king. So it says, that when the king comes and he sees all thousands of his subjects, that gets glorified. But he comes out, there's 5 people, it's not such the glory of the king. Glory of the king, he has a lot. It's the same thing here. The Jews coming to pray in 770, this glorifies the king, the multitude. Which also, who are the kings? What it says? The rabbis. Who are the kings? The rabbis. Me and Mamlach and the Rabbanim. And especially the leader, the king of the generation. And there has to be a need to expand Beis Rabeinu yet further, including the expanding in a matter of breakthrough, perhaps the numerical value of 770, like the building of a new house. So it says there that we have to, because so many people coming and it's too crowded, we have to break forth, and we haven't done this. But basically, I was looking up, the Rebbe basically, when the Friedecker Rebbe bought the place, he didn't make any major improvements. But there were big expansions the Rebbe did in 1960, 1970. Would be, I guess, Mem. Let's see, Lamed is the 30s. I have to figure it out. But anyways, so that was the time. Anyways, and base. Oh, it actually brings it down here. Where is it? Okay, so it says that like the building of a new house. So it says, if we look down on the footnote, on number 104, it says the extent of the placing of a cornerstone. That says on Erev Elo, 5748, there was a laying of the cornerstone for the expansion of the synagogue and the study hall of Lubavitch in Lubavitch, with the presence of the Rebbe Shlita, who placed the cornerstone with his holy hand. And see all the talks of this event. See also the talks. It was a very special time over there. So another, the Rebbe is building the base of Mikdash. Also, we learned that the Rebbe builds, the Moshiach builds the base of Mikdash. The Friedecker Rebbe didn't build anything from when I looked. The only expansion started by the Rebbe. So he was building the base of Mikdash, building it out so people can come. Okay. And based on the above spoken regarding the great virtue of the house of our Rebbe in Bavel, that the Mikdash traveled and settled there, and it is at the actual place of the Mikdash of the time to come. That's we're saying 770th place for the third Mikdash, to the extent that the future Mikdash will be revealed in it, and from there it will return to Yerushalayim. We understand the great merit that each and every Jew and Jewish has in taking part with their body and their money, and more the better, in the building of the house of our Rebbe as a preparation for the descending of the revelation of the future Mikdash, literally immediately. So the Rebbe's asking, we were supposed to raise money and to build it to bigger place. It never really happened. They tried, but they said, I don't know what happened. The problems with that. But the Rebbe says that anybody's involved, such a special place, that this is a place where the Holy Temple is going to be. So it's like we're making a place for the Holy Temple. And this is a timely manner. In the year of the Tzaddik, as emphasized, is the 90th summer Tehillim for this year, which begins, Hashem, you were in the dwelling place. Hayisa lana b'torah. How's it going in Hebrew? Zman Gram, special time, where that year of the Tzaddik, 90, that's Rebbe is 90, Ki Mudgash b'Tehillim Mizbar Tzaddik. Because we say in the Mizbar Tzaddik, maybe 89, Shaychus Hayisa lana b'torah. That we says that it says in this, it begins, Hashem, you were dwelling among us to be there with us for every generation, referring to also the synagogues and the study halls, and concludes, the pleasant Hashem, our God, shall be upon us, and the work of our hand shall be upon us, referring to the dwelling of the Shekinah and the Mikdash and the Mishkan. So the Rebbe is talking about here that how special that is. What's he saying here? Hold on, I lost my train of thought. So he's saying here we have to build out the bay. We have to expand 770, and this is a preparation literally for the truth, for the third base of Mikdash, which will come right away. And he says, especially now, because we're in the 90th Psalm, which is the 89th year for this year, and this year the Psalm which talks about, it says in the beginning, what does it say in the beginning? 90th Psalm. It says, Hashem, you were in a dwelling among us to be there for us in every generation, referring to the synagogues, study halls, and concludes, it says, Vayihi Noam Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu, Masa Yedenu Konenu, it says, and the end of it says that Hashem shall be upon us, and the work of our hand shall be established upon us, referring to the dwelling of the Shekinah, the Mishkan, the Mikdash. And Vayi Ratzonim, and it be the will of Hashem, that even before the expanding of the house of Rebbe Bavel in Bavel, the future Mikdash should be revealed and descend from heaven. The Mikdash that your hands, O Hashem, establish. The third and trifold base of Mikdash, which includes also the Mikdash, the first and second base of Mikdash. This is going to come down to the third base of Mikdash, including the first two. That will be revealed in the house of in our Rebbe, that the whole thing, first, second, and third, is all going to be revealed in 770, which is trifold house. That 770 is a synagogue, a place of prayer, study Torah, and a house of good deeds, acts of kindness. And from there it will be returned to Yerushalayim. So it's just an amazing place. There's one area, 770, where people daven, you can get a meeting all day there. And there's another area where all the students learn, bigger area. And then there are other things. They have simchas, their parties, they do a lot of good stuff there. People come, they help them out. And so it says, a synagogue of prayer. Okay, so that there will first be revealed in the house of our Rebbe, which is also a threefold house, a synagogue, prayer, a study hall, Torah, and a house of good deeds, acts of kindness. And from there it will return to Yerushalayim, together with all the synagogues and study halls. You can't just imagine everything, how this, impossible to imagine. This is what is happening. Everything is just going to go. We're going to see the greatest Rebbe Hashem, and everything is just going to go to Yerushalayim, to the Holy Temple, and connect it. And connect to the Mikdash, to the Holy Temple, together with all the Jewish people from all parts of the world, as the verse says. And the bringing them to my holy mountain to make them happy in the house of my prayer. How's the lesson? Over here, Mikdash. See what the lesson is in Hebrew? it says, Yikbu va'aretz Yerushalayim. It says, Mechavu Yaakov Kol Bnei Israel. It says, Shebakol Kasvi Table, all the corners of the earth, like it says, V'Hayosim El Har Kadshi, that I will bring them to the holy mountain, B'Sameach, B'Samechim, B'Beis Tefillah, and they will be happy in my house of prayer. Because my house would be called a house of prayer to everybody. So everybody's going to go and we're going to sit and learn and sit and daven to Hashem. And as I said in the prior claim, in 770 you can feel it. Like it says, Sh'bisi Hashem Kenegdi Tamid. We should always put God in front of me. So I was trying to, what do you mean we should always put God in front of me? God's always every place. We learn everything. God's everything, every place. But you have to put it. You have to put it there. And when you put it there, you experience it. That's what it means. When you put, then you realize. And when it's 770, when you're in a place of holiness, like 770, when you want to think godliness and put God in front of you, it's very easy. So it's okay. The Temple Mount and Hashem will be Nickmas. It says, "For my house is a house of prayer, and it will be called a house of prayer for all the nations." The Temple Mountain of Hashem will be magnificently standing on the most exclusive of the mountains, and be yet more exalted due to the hills surrounding it, and all the nations will stream to him. And the many nations will come. Rebbe saying everybody will come to the base of Mikdash, and they will say, "Let's go and ascend to the mountain of Hashem, to the house of God of Yaakov, and He will teach us the ways, and He will go in His path from Zion. The Torah will emerge, and the word of Hashem from Yerushalayim, and new Torah insights will come forth from me, literally immediately." This is the Rebbe telling you. The Rebbe is beyond belief, and he says that we can all attach ourselves to this. So a lot of different people, I'm on TikTok, so different people, different face watching, have to understand we're talking about the final redemption, which the Rebbe says we've done so much already, can come any second, and it's for everybody. The final redemption is not just for one group or another group. The final redemption is for everybody. Everybody's going to go to the Holy Temple. Everybody can see how everything's one with Hashem. But how do we do this? We have to learn what the Moshiach says to do, how to bring it faster. It's going to come, but we want to bring it faster. So a few stories, I guess. There was when I always ask people spiritual experiences. I have a lot of spiritual experience, thank God. So there was one guy. He was like a young Persian man. He was from New York. And he was in L.A. trying to make a life for himself. I think his father was in the rug business in New York. So I asked him, "Did you ever have a spiritual experience?" So he looks at me. He says, "Yeah." He says, "I was in the Dead Sea, Yam HaMelech, and I looked up and I realized I was a Jew." So I really didn't understand what that. I mean, it's an amazing thing. A Jew's part of God. A Jew's special. I mean, he realized that he's special, that God made him special, that God made him. So I really, I didn't ask anything more. I saw him several years later. He's visiting Los Angeles. I was in L.A. for 50 years. So I said, "What happened?" He says, "I wasn't afraid anymore." In other words, I realized I'm connected to one above, and I was no longer afraid. There's another friend of mine. I'm very close with the Rebbe. He's a big tzaddik. He's Ruach HaKodesh, amazing guy. I mean, the guy's beyond belief. I mean, he one of the most amazing things, as you see how wonderful he is. He tells me that the Rebbe's above him. The Rebbe's his Rebbe. So when you start to understand how amazing somebody is, and then after that, he tells you this guy's beyond me, then you start to understand how amazing the Rebbe is. Like once when it was in the Dar Torah, I don't know if it's a real story or not, but it was that not a Hasidic Bacher asked the Hasidic Bacher. They said he was complaining. He says, "Your Rebbe, your spiritual leader, your Rebbe is like you make your Rebbe like God." So the person who's a chassid says, my Rebbe is higher than your God. What's that mean? Because he says, by us, the Rebbe does miracles, and God is even beyond that. I guess by the other guy, where they learned, they didn't talk about miracles and so much. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm trying to bring out is that when you see the amazement of somebody, and you see how amazing they are, and then you see that they say the Rebbe's beyond them, then it makes even the Rebbe even greater. But anyway, so why I'm bringing this up. So there was one of his guys, Balchuba in L.A., so he asked the Rebbe, he said, I don't feel that well. I guess he's depressed or whatever. Wasn't in the best mood. And the Rebbe told him, the Biala Rebbe says, you don't know that, because you don't know you're connected to something good. So that's a very big thing, because if we know we're connected to God, very, very special. So Zaygasund to everybody. Hopefully we should all go and be in the base of Mikdash right away, be in 770. That's very important. That's one of the reasons, because after learning this, I found how special 770 is. That's one of the reasons that I opened up and I started, people talk about putting requests to the Rebbe, and they place it in the Rebbe where he prays there in the Shtedder 770. And I saw miracles with it, so I set it up. That's the app Rebbe 770, ROBBE 770. And the first thing is to put blessings. Is very amazing. Sei gesund, everybody. Hope everybody is well. I hope you enjoyed the class. Anyways, so I'm going to sign off from my other class, unless anybody has any good questions on TikTok that you want to address. Any questions about Moshiach, about redemption? The truth of the matter is, it's much easier to attach to God now than ever before, because everything's done. What's it mean, everything's done? Everything's done. Okay, I'm going to sign off for here. This was the fourth class. We finished, thank God.